Hello, everybody, and welcome to your golden ticket to success, happiness, and freedom. Maria Kay here with you again today, and it is my sincere pleasure to introduce Cherie Hoff with us today. Hi, Cherie.
Hi, how are you?
I am excellent. I'm very excited to get straight into presenting you to our audience and hearing what lovely wisdom and nuggets of miracles that you have to share with us today. So guys, Cherie Hoff is a coach, trainer, and best-selling transformational author. She knows what it takes to go from tragedy to triumph, and she has, as she discovered her brother after his tragic sudden death as a teenager, and then struggled for years with sadness and depression. Eventually, she did find her way back to both success and joy, and has been helping spread this powerful, very valuable message out into the world for over 20 odd years now. So Cherie, I can start by asking you, what was the mindset that you got yourself into after that, really difficult time in your life that enabled you to really reach this place where you are living the life of your dreams?
Well, after having a tragedy occur like that in my life, I really, for anyone who's had something just sudden, it just, feels like you're just wiped out. It feels like your life just sort of shatters around you. And for about 7 years after that, I really kind of drifted a little bit. But the one thing that I think I've had since birth is really this drive that no matter what, I'm a survivor, and no matter what, I just keep putting one foot in front of the other. So during that time of going through grief, I just kept moving forward. I was a young girl. I was 17, and I went to college, and I made friends, and I kind of did what I was supposed to do. But I was really sad inside, even though on the outside I seemed like I was doing okay. And then I met my husband, and I think the first glimmer that I could really have true joy again happened in sort of a circle of life kind of way when I held my oldest daughter in my arms for the first time. And but still, even, relationships with people, we need those. And, being a mom was really rewarding for me. It still was something external. And I realized after I had been, going to school and raising kids and going through the corporate world, but I was always looking for something external. And it was the shift into realizing that happiness came from inside of me, and that happiness was really a decision, that I could wake up and decide to be happy and do whatever it took to be that happy person. So really my transformation started with journaling, and I have a very deliberate journaling process that I use. And it's not designed to just record thoughts or record feelings. It's actually designed to change your life and change the way that you think. And so I have this really powerful morning ritual that I do every day, and that really put me on this path of being able to be stable in happiness and joy no matter what was going on around me. And I'm not talking about the kind of crazy happiness, like people don't laugh when someone dies or feel, giddy happiness when someone dies, but it was this core feeling of I'm all right, and I can have ups and downs with mood, but still have this core feeling of truly being happy.
Wow, it's a simple yet so powerful kind of message that you're giving there. And we hear it all the time, don't we? That happiness is an inside job, blah, blah, blah. And we just hear it. And it's great that it's getting out there. But I think what you described there was just something a bit more profound than just that, usual happiness is an inside job. Could you share a bit more about your journaling activity that you have developed over the years, and perhaps give any tips to anybody out there in our audience who might like to begin something like that for themselves?
Yeah, and like I said, it's life-changing. If I were going to say the one thing that set me on the path, it would be my journaling process. And so what I do, and I make it such a ritual that I make sure that my journal is beautiful and my pen is beautiful. And, I wake up in the morning and I light a candle, and, I usually play music. And I usually do it within the first half an hour of waking up. It's usually the first thing that I do, but at least within the first half an hour. And I start really with an appreciation list. And I just, say whatever I'm thankful for, and sometimes it's 3 things, and sometimes it's 50 things, but I only write down what I truly appreciate. So I don't write down things that I think I should appreciate. So for instance, if I'm irritated with my husband, I don't say, oh, I'm thankful for my husband. Of course I am, in a deep core way, but it's more about really being in the present moment, in the now. So I might say, I'm so thankful for my cup of coffee, or I'm so thankful for my slippers, or, my pillow. I really want to get into that feeling of appreciation. And then I shift it to a list. After I really get into that place of appreciation, I shift it into a list of what I'm trying to manifest. And I do it in a way of calling it into the present. So if I'm trying to grow my business, I might say, I am a multi-7-figure business. Or if I'm trying to bring, a new program, I use the words I am, or like, so for example, I might say I am wealth, or I am money. Not from the sense of, worshiping any of those things, but we're connected all with each other. We're one with the universe, one with each other, one with everything that is in the universe. So it's, when I think of connecting and manifesting, I think, well, I'm already one with that. So it's a powerful process for me, but you can say things like thank you for, or I love, in terms of, pulling that manifestation forward. And then after that, I use a question, and it's a question, I take a few deep breaths, I get myself into kind of a meditative place, a prayerful place, and I'll ask, and for people, it could be you could look at this as your inner guidance, your higher self, your God, the universe, whatever is meaningful to you, and I say, what is the next step? What is, whatever question I have, what do I need to do to bring this into my life? Whatever I'm working on, or, how can I have more peace today? Whatever is the question that I want to know, or maybe, I have 6 children, 3 children with my husband, and I have 3 stepchildren also. So it might be, how can I maintain a close relationship with my kids as they're becoming adults? So whatever is the question that I have, and then I wait, I kind of pause and see if there's an answer that bubbles up, and if there isn't, I sort of leave it and maybe come back to it later. But often what happens is I get some of my best business ideas, or my best ideas for places I want to go and things that I want to do. So I write those things down if they come up for me, and then I also like to choose kind of an energy vibration for the day. So some days it's trust, some days it's happiness, some days I'll write down magnetism. It's kind of like, I usually have a word that I kind of give as a slogan for my year. Like this year it was alignment, and it's been flow in the past, it's been happiness, so you kind of create an energy vibration word for the day, and whenever things kind of get out of control in the day, you can come back to that word and say, I just want to be in trust, or I just want to feel good, whatever, whatever good is. And then if you're really feeling like maybe you've sort of lost that dreaming big feeling, writing out a script of something that you want to have happen can be really powerful. And when you write a script for manifesting, you want to write it in the past tense, like it happened already. So, if I say, I got a check for $10,000, it sounds a lot more powerful than I am getting a check for $10,000, right? There's like different power in that.
Yeah.
So so that's my journaling process, and you can take just a couple minutes, or you could make it an hour long, and for me it depends on what I need, how much I need to shift, and how much time I have available in that day. If I only have 5-10 minutes, then so be it, and that's what I do to kind of give me that big kickstart to my day.
I think that's great. It's come up quite a lot, that having a daily practice and the importance of dedicating yourself to that and being motivated. But also on the flip side, being open and giving yourself that space to flow with life. And as you say, when time is more available and, you know, you feel as though you really need, you know, it's where you want to be, to spend more time, and being okay when perhaps time's a bit more limited, you know. So seeing as our sort of topic is, you know, success, freedom and happiness, what can you talk to us with regards to those three elements? Do they go hand in hand? Are they separate? What has been your experience? Have you perhaps had a time in your life when you've been highly successful, as I know a lot of our audience might be, but perhaps are missing out on those key, you know, happiness and freedom elements as well? How's that worked out for you?
Yeah, well, that is really a fantastic question. And, you know, in the best and ideal place, all three together is really the sweet spot. But to me, it's really, you know, if you're going to set priorities, it would be like happiness first. But I have had the spot in my life where I felt really successful, like I had achieved everything I was working on, and it ended up being really empty. Like I was standing in the middle of an airport pulling my laptop, and I had this moment of, you know, I've arrived, I did it, I did what I wanted to do. And then it was almost crushing, and I just felt like, this is it? This is it? And you know, I mean, I feel like I've always been a whole person, but I had really put a lot of energy into going forward in my career and, you know, pushing and getting my education and saying yes to every promotion and saying yes to all the things my kids wanted to do. And I realized, you know, can I really see myself doing this for another 5, 10, 15, 20 or more years? And when the answer was no, I thought I need to find something else. And I thought my something else was moving from the corporate world to higher education. And so I taught at a college and got involved in leadership at a college for a while. And then I had another moment like that because I realized that there still was more for me to give. And I wanted to mentor in a different way. I mean, I really wanted to work with people who wanted transformation. And oftentimes in college, and I love college, and I have my PhD, I highly suggest education for people. But the truth about college is a lot of people think, oh, it's just to check the box, you know, degree, done. And so that was a little disillusioning for me. But nobody gets coaching unless they're truly invested in transforming their lives. And so I just woke up one morning, it was in 2007, and I just knew that I needed to start my own coaching and training company. And so I started my company within that month, and then 3 months later I gave my notice where I was working at the time. And it's 7 years later, and you know, I can truly say I have happiness, success, and freedom. And, you know, my whole life I've always valued freedom. I valued when I had jobs in my career, when I was growing, when I had a lot of autonomy, I was much happier than when I had, you know, the kind of you're 5 minutes late, you know, sort of crackdown. And so I thrive under freedom. And a lot of the people that I work and coach with, they want more freedom. You know, maybe they've done, you know, they've worked in their career where it's been very rigid, and they might have a lot of success, but they sort of feel like a slave to what they've been doing. And so I am of a strong belief that working harder and working more doesn't mean more success. You know, that you can work less hours and have even more success than you've ever dreamed of. And I doubted that because I was raised with a really strong work ethic, you know, of you got to work hard, you got to work harder than anybody else, and then you'll get ahead. And I've tested that where I've pulled back, I've gotten very focused about the time that I put in and the focus that I put in. You know, it's very focused time, but less time. I took 6 vacations this year, and my business is doing better than it ever has been. And so And we all know people who seem like they've worked, really hard in their lives and don't have much to show for it. And then we also have people who it seems like they kind of have that golden ticket, that whatever they do just turns to gold, and they seem like they go through life with ease and flow. And I do work hard. When I'm in the flow, I won't get up. I'll write and write and write when I'm feeling really passionate about it, but it doesn't feel like work when I'm in that place. I don't feel like, oh, I have to do this. I feel like I'm loving this. So it doesn't mean that you don't put in, some long hours here and there, but in general, it's a lot more freeing when you're doing something that's flexible and that you love and that you would almost do without getting paid to do it.
That's amazing, and I want to just backtrack a moment there, because you talked about that there are many people who work really, really hard, and I'm sure both you and I have been there, but almost without, these people we're talking about who are still locked into, almost chained to a work schedule, whatever it might be, whether it's being an employee or even their own work schedule if they run their own business, but perhaps not seeing the results or being rewarded in the way that they truly deserve to be rewarded. And then you also talked about how there are people who are like yourself, who are, so very deservedly taking 6 vacations in 1 year and still, running a thriving business and being of service to the world. The question I have is, what would you say is the either one thing or, top couple of reasons that sort of sets these two different people apart?
Well, I think it's really is the core belief. So if you truly believe that you have to work really hard for money, or even the belief that you have to work really hard for not very much money, then that becomes your reality. And when you start to believe that, the hours that I put in don't have to translate directly to the amount of money, like you can leverage your time, and maybe 1 hour actually gives you the productivity of your previous 20 hours. So, and when you think about the power of the mind and the power of your soul, just the time that you spend thinking and creating in your mind is more powerful than any other time that you spend doing anything else. So when you actually get into action, and you do have to act, you have to take action, it's the energy that you put into the creative thought that really is the expansion that happens. And when I use the word expansion, I think that's another key to doing better, making more money, being more successful with less time. It's really deciding that you're going to expand. So when I decided I was going to take 6 vacations, I had no idea where I would go, and I also, because I've never taken 6 vacations in my life in 1 year, I wasn't quite sure how it would even affect the money that was coming in. But I did know that I started my business to have more flexibility, and when I was doing my 2014 planning, I realized that the year before I had taken 1 vacation, and and I thought, and plus, I had not done like a whole lot of other fun things, like going into the mountains or, just doing things that were just totally relaxing. And I thought, I'm deciding I'm changing that. I've gotten back into the same kind of place of putting in a lot of hours, and it really kind of, it was like getting to be a habit again. So I just decided I'm taking these 6 vacations, and it didn't have any kind of consequence that was negative financially in any way. In fact, it seemed like my husband's business and my business, we both expanded to accommodate that, and not like it wasn't consciously expanding. It's like because we made the decision to live our lives that way, everything just automatically expanded. And so there is so much that happens when you just choose and then allow the expansion to happen.
This is a running theme, Cherie, and it's so great to have you reinforce it again, about how important it is to figure out what it is you desire and then make the decision, and then, as you mentioned before, become that big believer that it will happen for you. I'm a big sort of fan. I know miracles is something that I rely on, and I teach my students and clients to, you know, become their own miracle workers. And what you're describing there, you know, 6 vacations in 1 year it could be, you know, labeled as miraculous.
Mm-hmm. Especially from going from one vacation. And, you know, and I did a lot of other things during that time. I took little weekend trips into the mountains, and I just decided to have just a more playful attitude towards everything that I did. And, you know, when I say, well, I just decided, a lot of people minimize that step. So there's one way, here's a little example of how powerful it is to make a decision. So let's say you had a, you know, Saturday where you had nothing planned. Your day was absolutely wide open, and you started thinking, oh, well, I could go golfing, or I could go to dinner, or I could go to a movie, or, you know, I could go to all 3. And you're thinking in possibilities, and you're getting excited. But until you pick up the phone and say, okay, I'm calling and booking my tea time, or I'm booking those dinner reservations, you haven't made a decision. And I think a lot of people live their lives in the place, I love that people are in the place of possibility, but it's really when you shift to deciding and just saying, I'm doing it. And it's not that I'm doing it from a force, like no matter what, I'm going to force it to happen, I'm going to make it work. But it's more like I'm doing it, like, yeah, you know, this is me, this is what I'm doing. And it's an excitement energy, not a I'm going to conquer the world and make everybody bow down to me to make this happen, you know. So there's a little different energy there.
No, that's a great description there of how it feels, because it feels differently in your body, doesn't it, to be, you know, in the flow, rather than being in that kind of push-pull, very sort of which is a bit harsher, the energy. You talk quite a bit about the universal sort of, or how we are co-creators. For somebody perhaps in the audience who isn't as familiar with those concepts, what would you suggest as a starting point? What tips could you give them to get started with, you know, drawing on perhaps their higher powers?
Yeah. So one of the things that drives me crazy, and you know, I've been there probably, and so have you, and probably a lot of the listeners, is when, you know, someone goes for something and they say, well, it wasn't meant to be. And you know, we all say that. And what it does, though, is it really plays into this belief of fate, and like someone else is in charge of our fate. And in reality, we're co-creators. So, and I would say we're solo creators, because it's really, you know, what we desire to have happen that puts in motion everything that happens in our lives, or if we sort of create by default, where we just focus our thoughts in an area and then it happens that way. But when I say co-creating, I mean that we're not doing it alone. So, you know, if I have a vision to inspire millions of people to, you know, live happy and successful lives, that might be my vision, but you're helping me. You know, anytime I do an interview, that person's helping me. Any person I come in contact with is helping me. And so, so once we put a goal out there, you know, everything sort of conspires to make it happen. And it's the energy behind it that really makes it happen. And you can see energy take hold, like when you see somebody who has like maybe a vision at a school of you know, some kind of grand idea for the school, and then people get behind it. Well, so that's one person with a vision, but then all kinds of people, which is really the universe. The universe is made up of people, right? Conspire to and get involved in making that happen. So, but it starts with what we want. And so I think what happens, and you know, I was raised in traditional religion, and I'm a very spiritual person, but a lot of times what we buy into is that there's someone out there, God, the universe, that's saying no to us. You know, like we have something that we deeply desire and we're getting a no. And the way that I look at it is that if we have something that's a deep desire, something that feels like purpose in our life, that is there for a reason. It's not something to just be dismissed by, you know, somebody saying no to it. So have faith that if you feel really passionate about something, that you hold the energy around that passion and hold the energy around what you want to have happen, and that, you know, then it will come to be. I mean, every single thing that I have ever felt really strongly about has happened, but then, you know, sometimes there's a delay, and the delay that happens is usually because I lose faith. You know, I'll get tired and I'll think, you know, oh, maybe I'll go off in this direction for a while. But an interesting thing happened. You know, I told you about the 6 vacations, and back in I think it was 2008, 2009, I was making a goal poster, and I found this picture. I love the ocean, and I've been to lots of different beaches, and I found this picture of Belize. And, you know, I hadn't been to Belize before, and, you know, I don't know if I even really had a super big passion to go to Belize. It's in Central America for people who are listening around the world. But I put that picture on my goal poster, and then I was booking a cruise for my husband, my son, and I for December, and this upcoming December. And I realized, I mean, it didn't sink in right away, but I realized that one of the stops on the cruise ship is Belize City. And, you know, and I was looking at some of the beaches because I thought, okay, what can I do in Belize? And then I came across the same picture that I had put on my goal poster, and it almost felt like kind of hokey, you know, like you hear people talk about this all the time, but literally it was the same picture. And I thought, wow, you know, I hadn't even thought about Belize because I've gone, you know, I've been to all kinds of beaches in the Bahamas and the Eastern Caribbean, and I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm planning to go to Belize. But I had put it on my goal poster, and here I am, you know, 6, 7 years later, going to Belize in December. So it's just a demonstration that when you focus on something, it does happen. And I have had it happen where, you know, I cut out a bunch of pictures when I graduated from high school, and I put them in a folder, and I never looked at them until like 5 years later, and I opened the folder, and I had done everything in that folder. So again, it sounds so hokey. It's like I could hardly believe saying it, but it actually works, you know. So it's the simple stuff. We make it so complicated.
No, I'm with you on that one. I did exactly the same thing a while ago with another vacation, and we came home from the vacation, and my children were there looking at my vision board, and they were like, oh, wow, that's the same aeroplane, and the same snorkeling that we did, and the same slide, you know, water park. Everything was, you know, pretty much identical. So I'm with you on that one. And I think it's lovely to expect these miracles, but I think it's also a beautiful place to be when you're in that place of appreciation, and it's magical, you know. And as you say, bringing more play and adventure into our lives is all part of it. Juicy stuff. So Cherie, if I was to ask you, what is coming through you intuitively right now that you feel you could share with our audience that they would really be able to grasp hold of and run with immediately?
You know, I want to come back to the make a decision. So, and if everyone could just kind of close their eyes for a second and think about, you know, whatever is their most burning desire, you know, the thing that you just keep coming out, if only this could happen. And I want you to just take a nice deep breath in through your nose and breathe it out and connect your feet to the ground, and, you know, just say to yourself, I'm doing it. I'm making the decision. I'm doing it. And I think that's the most powerful thing that you could do right now. Just right after you get done listening, make a decision.
Oh, such a valuable sharing. Thank you so much, Cherie. And I know you have a wonderful free gift for our audience, so please do share that as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, you can go to my website, lifeisjoyful.org, and it's exactly the way the words sound or spell, lifeisjoyful.org. And there's a MP3 called 4 Keys to Being Your Best, and it is just absolutely an incredible MP3 packed with information. And then I also would like to extend to everybody, if you go on the coaching tab, there is a tab called Strategy Session, and you can have a 30-minute strategy session with me. And I don't offer these all the time. It goes up on my website, then it comes down because I only have a certain amount of time. I have to get in those 6 vacations. But I would love to talk with you, and you can take a look at what we cover in that strategy session to see if it's something that resonates with you. So again, lifeisjoyful.org. Get that 4 Keys to Being Your Best MP3, and then also check out that strategy session.
Fabulous, and life really is joyful. It's been a joyful hangout with you today, Cherie. Thank you so sincerely, and wishing you and everyone in our audience today a bliss-filled rest of your day.
Thank you so much. It's just been great to be here, and you're doing such amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you.